Nursultan Äbishuly Nazarbayev is the President of Kazakhstan. He has been the country's leader since 1989, when he was named first Secretary of the Communist Party of the Kazakh SSR, and was elected the nation's first president following its independence from the Soviet Union in December 1991. He holds the title Leader of the Nation. In April 2015, Nazarbayev was re-elected with almost 98% of the vote. Nazarbayev has suppressed dissent, been accused of human rights abuses by several human rights organizations, and conducted an authoritarian regime. No election held in Kazakhstan since independence has met international standards. In 2010, he announced reforms to encourage a multi-party system. Early life. Nazarbayev was born in Kobac, a rural town near Almaty, when Kazakhstan was one of the republics of the Soviet Union. His father was a poor laborer who worked for a wealthy local family until Soviet rule confiscated the family's farmland in the 1930s during Joseph Stalin's collectivization policy. Following this, his father took the family to the mountains to live out a nomadic existence. His father avoided compulsory military service due to a withered arm he sustained when putting out a fire. At the end of World War II, the family returned to the village of Kobac, and Nazarbayev began to learn the Russian language. He performed well at school, and was sent to a boarding school in Kazakhstan. After leaving school, he took up a one-year government-funded scholarship at the Karaganda steel mill in Temirtau. He also spent time training at a steel plant in Dnipro-Dzержinsk, and therefore was away from Temirtau when riots broke out there over working conditions. By 20, he was earning a relatively good wage doing incredibly heavy and dangerous work in the blast furnace. He joined the Communist Party in 1962, becoming a prominent member of the Young Communist League, and full-time worker for the party, and attended the Karaganda Polytechnic Institute. He was appointed Secretary of the Communist Party Committee of the Karaganda Metallurgical Combinate in 1972, and 4 years later became Second Secretary of the Karaganda Regional Party Committee. In his role as a bureaucrat, Nazarbayev dealt with legal papers, logistical problems and industrial disputes, as well as meeting workers to solve individual issues. He later wrote that the central allocation of capital investment and the distribution of funds meant that infrastructure was poor, workers were demoralized and overworked, and centrally set targets were unrealistic. He saw the steel plant's problems as a microcosm for the problems for the Soviet Union as a whole. Rise to power in 1984, Nazarbayev became the Prime Minister of Kazakhstan under Nursultan Äbishuly, the first Secretary of the Communist Party of Kazakhstan. At the 16th session of the Communist Party of Kazakhstan in January 1986, Nazarbayev criticized Askar Kuniev, head of the Academy of Sciences, for not reforming his department. Nursultan Kuniev, Nazarbayev's boss and Askar's brother, felt deeply angered and betrayed. Kuniev went to Moscow and demanded Nazarbayev's dismissal, while Nazarbayev's supporters campaigned for Kuniev's dismissal and Nazarbayev's promotion. Kuniev was ousted in 1986 and replaced by a Russian, Gennady Kulban, who despite his office had little authority in Kazakhstan. Nazarbayev was named party leader on the 22nd of June 1989, only the second Kazakh to hold the post. He was chairman of the Supreme Soviet from the 22nd of February to the 24th of April 1990. On the 24th of April 1990, 1990, Nazarbayev was named the first president of Kazakhstan by the Supreme Soviet. He supported Russian President Boris Yeltsin against the attempted coup in August 1991 by Soviet hardliners. Nazarbayev was close enough to Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev for Gorbachev to consider him for the post of vice president of the Soviet Union. However, Nazarbayev turned the offer down. The Soviet Union disintegrated following the failed coup. Though Nazarbayev was highly concerned with maintaining the close economic ties between Kazakhstan and Russia, in the country's first presidential election held on the 1st of December, he appeared alone on the ballot and won 91.5% of the vote. On the 21st of December, he signed the Alma-Ata Protocol, taking Kazakhstan into the Commonwealth of Independent States presidency. Nazarbayev renamed the former state defense committees as the Ministry of Defense and appointed Sagudat Nurmagomedov as defense minister on 7 May, 1992. The Supreme Council, under the leadership of Speaker Sirik Bolson Abdullan, began debating over a draft constitution in June 1992. The constitution created a strong executive branch with limited checks on executive power. Opposition political parties Azat Jeltogzan and the Republican Party held demonstrations in Almaty from 10 to 17 June calling for the formation of a coalition government and the resignation of the government of Prime Minister Sergei Tereshchenko and the Supreme Council. The Parliament of Kazakhstan, composed of Communist Party legislators who had yet to stand in an election since the country gained its independence, adopted the constitution on 28 January 1993. An April 1995 referendum extended his term until 2000. He was re-elected in January 1999 and again in December 2005. The Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe criticized the last presidential election as falling short of international democratic standards. On 18 May 2007, the Parliament of Kazakhstan approved a constitutional amendment which allowed the incumbent president himself to run for an unlimited number of 5-year terms. This amendment applied specifically and only to Nazarbayev. The original constitution's prescribed maximum of 2 5-year terms will still apply to all future presidents of Kazakhstan. Nazarbayev appointed Altunbek Sarsanbayev, who at the time served as the Minister of Culture, Information and Concord, the Secretary of the Kazakh Security Council, replacing Marat Tajin on 4 May 2001. Tajin became the chairman of the National Security Council, replacing Alnur Musayev. Musayev became the head of the Guard Service of the President. Notwithstanding Kazakhstan's membership in the Organization of the Islamic Conference, under Nazarbayev the country has had good relations with Israel. Diplomatic relations were established in 1992 and President Nazarbayev paid official visits to Israel in 1995 and 2000. Bilateral trade between the two countries amounted to $724 million in 2005. In 1994, Nazarbayev suggested the move of the capital from Almaty to Astana, and the official shift of the capital happened on 10 December 1997. On 4 December 2005, new presidential elections were held and President Nazarbayev won by an overwhelming majority of 91.15%. Nazarbayev was sworn in for another 7-year term on the 11th of January 2006. In 2009, Former UK Cabinet Minister Jonathan Aitken released a biography of the Kazakhstani leader entitled Nazarbayev and the Making of Kazakhstan. The book takes a generally pro-Nazarbayev stance, asserting in the introduction that he is mostly responsible for the success of modern Kazakhstan. December 2011 saw 2011 Manchester riots, described by the BBC as the biggest opposition movement of his time in power. On the 16th of December 2011, demonstrations in the oil town of Zarazan clashed with police on the country's Independence Day. 15 people were shot dead by security forces and almost 100 were injured. Protests quickly spread to other cities but then died away. The subsequent trial of demonstrators uncovered mass abuse and torture of detainees. President Nazarbayev suggested in 2014 that Kazakhstan should change its name to Kazakh for the country to attract better and more foreign investment, since Kazakhstan, by its name, is associated with other Stan countries. Nazarbayev noted Mongolia received more investment than Kazakhstan because it is not a Stan country, even though it is in the same neighborhood, and not as stable as Kazakhstan. However, he is letting the people decide on whether the country should change its name. The role of Nazarbayev and his political reforms was acknowledged by Daniel Witt, vice-chairman of the Eurasia Foundation. He noted, Nazarbayev has led Kazakhstan through difficult times and into an era of prosperity and growth. He has demonstrated that he values his U.S. and Western alliances and is committed to achieving democratic governance. In December 2012, President Nazarbayev outlined a forward-looking national strategy called the Kazakhstan 2050 Strategy. Allegations of corruption over the course of Nazarbayev's presidency. There have been an increasing number of accusations of corruption and favoritism directed against Nazarbayev and his circle. Critics say that the country's government has come to resemble a clan system. According to The New Yorker, in 1999 Swiss banking officials discovered $85 million in an account apparently belonging to Nazarbayev. The money, intended for the Kazakh treasury, had in part been transferred through accounts linked to James Giffen. Subsequently, Nazarbayev successfully pushed for a parliamentary bill granting him legal immunity, as well as another designed to legalize money laundering, angering critics further. When Kazakh opposition newspaper Respublika reported in 2002 that Nazarbayev had in the mid-1990s secretly stashed away $1 billion of state oil revenue in Swiss bank accounts, the decapitated carcass of a dog was left outside the newspaper's offices, with a warning reading, "There won't be a next time." The dog's head later turned up outside editor Irina Petrusheva's apartment, with a warning reading, "There will be no last time." The newspaper was firebombed as well. In May 2007, the Parliament of Kazakhstan approved a constitutional amendment which would allow Nazarbayev to seek re-election as many times as he wishes. This amendment applies specifically and only to Nazarbayev, since it states that the first president will have no limits on how many times he can run for office, but subsequent presidents will be held to a 5-year term. As of 2015, Kazakhstan has never held an election meeting international standards. Eurasian Economic Union. In 1994, Nazarbayev suggested the idea of creating a Eurasian Union during a speech at Moscow State University. On 29 May 2014, Russia, Belarus, and Kazakhstan signed a treaty to create a Eurasian Economic Union which created a single economic space of 170 million people and came into effect in January 2015. Nazarbayev said shortly after the treaty was signed, "We see this as an open space and a new bridge between the growing economies of Europe and Asia." environmental issues. In his 1998 autobiography, Nazarbayev read that the shrinking of the Aral Sea, because of its scope, is one of the most serious ecological disasters being faced by our planet today. It is not an exaggeration to put it on the same level as the destruction of the Amazon rainforest. Quote, he called on Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and the wider world to do more to reverse the environmental damage done during the Soviet era. Nuclear issues. Kazakhstan inherited from the Soviet Union the world's fourth largest stockpile of nuclear weapons. Within 4 years of independence, Kazakhstan possessed 0 nuclear weapons. In one of the new government's first major decisions, Nazarbayev closed the Soviet nuclear test site at Semipalatinsk, where 456 nuclear tests had been conducted by the Soviet military. During the Soviet era, over 500 military experiments with nuclear weapons were conducted by scientists in the Kazakhstan region, mostly at the Semipalatinsk test site, causing radiation sickness and birth defects. As the influence of the Soviet Union waned, Nazarbayev closed the site. He later claimed that he had encouraged Altas Suleymanov's anti-nuclear movement in Kazakhstan, and was always fully committed to the group's goals. In what was dubbed Project Sapphire, the Kazakhstan and United States government worked closely to dismantle former Soviet weapons stored in the country, with the Americans agreeing to fund over $800 million in transportation and compensation costs. Nazarbayev encouraged the United Nations General Assembly to establish the 29th of August as the International Day Against Nuclear Tests. In his article, he has proposed a new non-proliferation treaty that would guarantee clear obligations on the part of signatory governments and define real sanctions for those who fail to observe the terms of the agreement. Quote, he signed a treaty authorizing the Central Asian Nuclear Weapon-Free Zone on 8 September 2006. In a note in the Washington Times, President Nazarbayev called for the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty to be modernized and better balanced. In March 2016, Nursultan Nazarbayev released his manifesto, The World, the 21st Century. Quote, in this manifest, the Kazakhstan president called for expanding and replicating existing nuclear weapon-free zones and stressed the need to modernize existing international disarmament treaties. Iran. In a speech given on 15 December 2006 marking the 15th anniversary of Kazakhstan's independence, Nazarbayev stated he wished to join with Iran in support of a single currency for all Central Asian states and intended to push the idea forward with Iran's then-President Ahmadinejad on an upcoming visit. The Kazakh president also reportedly criticized Iran as a terrorism-supporting state. The Kazakh Foreign Ministry released a statement on 19 December, saying the reports were mistaken and contradictory to what the president actually meant. Kazakhstan 2050 strategy. Nazarbayev unveiled in his 2012 State of the Nation the Kazakhstan 2050 strategy, a long-term strategy to ensure future growth prospects of Kazakhstan, and position Kazakhstan as one of the 30 most developed nations in the world. Religion. President Nursultan Nazarbayev has put forward the initiative of holding a forum of world and traditional religions in the capital of Kazakhstan, Astana. Earlier, the organizers of similar events were only representatives of leading religions and denominations. Among other similar events aimed at establishing interdenominational dialogue were the meetings of representatives of world religions and denominations held in Assisi, Italy in October 1986 and January 2002. The first Congress of World and Traditional Religions, which gathered in 2003, allowed the leaders of all major religions to develop prospects for mutual cooperation. Nazarbayev espoused anti-religious views during the Soviet era. He has now made an effort to highlight his Muslim heritage by performing the Hajj pilgrimage and supporting mosque renovations. Under the leadership of Nazarbayev, the Republic of Kazakhstan has enacted some degrees of multiculturalism in order to retain and attract talents from diverse ethnic groups among its citizenry, and even from nations that are developing ties of cooperation with the country, in order to coordinate human resources onto the state-guided path of global market economic participation. This principle of the Kazakh leadership has earned it the name Singapore of the Steppes. However, in 2012 Nazarbayev proposed reforms, which were later enacted by the parliament, imposing stringent restrictions on religious practices. Religious groups were required to re-register or face closure. The initiative was explained as an attempt to combat extremism. However, under the new law, many minority religious groups are deemed illegal. In order to exist on a local level, a group must have more than 50 members. On a regional level, more than 500. On the national level, more than 5,000. Nazarbayev made remarks on the veil nationalism. Putin's remarks on the historicity of Kazakhstan led to a severe response from Nazarbayev. Human rights record. Kazakhstan's human rights situation under Nazarbayev is uniformly described as poor by independent observers. Human Rights Watch says that Kazakhstan heavily restricts freedom of assembly, speech, and religion. In 2014, authorities closed newspapers, jailed or fined dozens of people after peaceful but unsanctioned protests, and fined or detained worshippers for practicing religion outside state controls. Government critics, including opposition leader Vladimir Kozlov, remained in detention after unfair trials. In mid-2014, Kazakhstan adopted new criminal executive, criminal procedural, and administrative codes, and a new law on trade unions, which contain articles restricting fundamental freedoms and are incompatible with international standards. Torture remains common in places of detention. Kazakhstan is ranked 161 out of 180 countries on the World Press Freedom Index, compiled by Reporters Without Borders. Rule of law. According to a U.S. government report released in 2014, in Kazakhstan, the law does not require police to inform detainees that they have the right to an attorney, and police did not do so. Human rights observers allege that law enforcement officials dissuaded detainees from seeing an attorney, gathered evidence through preliminary questioning before a detainee's attorney arrived, and in some cases used corrupt defense attorneys to gather evidence. The law does not adequately provide for an independent judiciary. The executive branch sharply limited judicial independence. Prosecutors enjoyed a quasi-judicial role and had the authority to suspend court decisions. Corruption was evident at every stage of the judicial process. Although judges were among the most highly paid government employees, lawyers and human rights monitors alleged that judges, prosecutors, and other officials solicited bribes in exchange for favorable rulings in the majority of criminal cases. Kazakhstan's global rank in the World Justice Project's 2015 Rule of Law Index was 65 out of 102. The country scored well on order and security, and poorly on constraints on government powers, open government, and fundamental rights. Foreign policy. During Nursultan Nazarbayev's presidency, the main principle of Kazakhstan's international relations was multi-vector foreign policy, which was based on initiatives to establish friendly relations with foreign partners. Personal life. Nazarbayev is married to Sara Alpyskaya Nazarbayeva, and they have 3 daughters, Dariga, Dinara and Alia. Nursultan Äbishuly, the grandson of Nazarbayev, was named in the Panama Papers. Honors: Kazakhstan Order of the Golden Eagle, Medal Astana, Medal 10 Years of the Independence of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Medal 10th Anniversary of the Armed Forces of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Medal 10th Anniversary of the Constitution of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Medal in commemoration of the 100th Anniversary of the Railway of Kazakhstan, Medal 10 Years of the Parliament of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Medal 50 Years of the Virgin Lands, Jubilee Medal 60 Years of Victory in the Great Patriotic War 1941–1945, Medal 10 Years of the City of Astana, Medal 20 Years of the Independence of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Soviet Union Order of the Red Banner of Labour, Order of the Badge of Honor, Medal for the Development of Virgin Lands, Jubilee Medal 70 Years of the Armed Forces of the USSR, Russian Federation Order of St. Andrew the Apostle the First Call, Medal in commemoration of the 1000th Anniversary of Kazan, Medal in commemoration of the 300th Anniversary of St. Petersburg, Medal in commemoration of the 850th Anniversary of Moscow, the Order of Alexander Nevsky, the Order of Akhmad Kadyrov, Foreign Awards Austria, Grand Star of the Decoration of Honor for Services to the Republic of Austria, Belgique Grand Cordon of the Order of Leopold, Croatia, Grand Order of King Tomislav, Egypt, Grand Cordon of the Order of the Nile, Estonia, Collar of the Order of the Cross of Terra Mariana, Finland, Commander Grand Cross with Collar of the Order of the White Rose of Finland, Finland, Commander Grand Cross of the Order of the Lion of Finland, France, Grand Croix of the Legend Honor, Greece, Grand Cross of the Order of the Redeemer, Hungary, Order of Merit of the Republic of Hungary, Italy, Knight Grand Cross with Collar of the Order of Merit of the Italian Republic, Japan, Order of the Chrysanthemum, Latvia, First Class with Chain of the Order of the Three Stars, Lithuania, Grand Cross of the Order of Vytautas the Great, Luxembourg, Grand Cross of the Order of the Oak Crown, Monaco, Grand Cross of the Order of St. Charles, Poland, Order of the White Eagle, Qatar, Order of Independence, Romania, Sash of the Order of the Star of Romania, Serbia, or Order of the Republic of Serbia, Slovakia, Grand Cross of the Order of the White Double Cross, Tajikistan, Order of Izamoyli Simoni, Turkey, First Class of the Order of the State of Republic of Turkey, United Kingdom, Honorary Knight Grand Cross of the Order of St. Michael and St. George, Ukraine, Order of Liberty, Ukraine, Order of Prince Yaroslav the Wise, First Class, United Arab Emirates, Order of Zayed. Other Jordan, a street in Amman is named after him.